Did you know that autistic folks can be hypersensitive to emotions? Yeah, neither did I for a really long time, and it actually explains so much about my life. Hi, my name is Megan, and welcome to Neurodivergent Magic, the YouTube channel for accessible and relatable neurodivergent content. So let's talk about this emotional hypersensitivity. It actually totally makes sense that autistic folks can be hypersensitive to emotions. It's just not something we hear about a lot because of the myth that autistic folks lack empathy. And if someone lacks empathy, they obviously can't be hypersensitive to emotions. Isn't that lacking empathy is basically not being aware of emotions? But this is wrong on so many levels, so let's break it down. First of all, some autistic folks do lack empathy, and I want to clarify what exactly that means. It doesn't mean that we're not compassionate. It doesn't mean that we don't care about emotions. It just means that we don't naturally pick up on the emotions of others and feel them in the same way that they feel them. Number two, a lot of autistic folks don't lack empathy. The idea that autistic folks lack empathy is just a stereotype. Some people lack empathy, some people don't, but saying all of us are one way is, a stereotype. And number three, there are actually two types of empathy, and autistic folks tend to struggle with one more than the other. So there's cognitive empathy, which is basically the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes and think the way that they might think. And then there's affective empathy, sometimes known as emotional empathy. And this is the ability to feel what someone else is feeling. And guess what? Even though a lot of autistic folks tend to struggle with cognitive empathy, we also tend to have an overabundance of emotional empathy. Okay, so the stereotype that autistic folks lack empathy clearly doesn't mean that we can't be emotionally hypersensitive. So let's talk about what emotional hypersensitivity looks like for me. Personally, it can present itself in a multitude of ways. One way that I experience emotional hypersensitivity is just automatically feeling the feelings of others without trying at all. When I walk in a room, I feel what other people are feeling. And it took me a long time to realize that's what was going on. I just thought my emotions were shifting really rapidly and I was just crazy, basically. But it turns out I was just picking up on a lot of emotions on a subconscious level. Another way that I would consider myself emotionally hypersensitive is that I care very deeply about my own emotions, and I have a lot of emotions about my emotions. If I'm sad, that affects me in almost every way. It affects me physically, it affects me mentally, it affects my relationships. Even just normal, non-depression sadness can completely change my day. And on the other end of the spectrum, when I'm happy, the whole world looks different through my eyes. This kind of emotional intensity is part of why I thought that I had bipolar disorder, which if you're interested, you can learn more about my diagnosis journey here. Finally, I think another reason that autistic folks don't always realize that they're emotionally hypersensitive is because we tend to get our mental world, our emotional world, and our physical world a little mixed up. Physical discomfort can make us very emotional, and big emotions can cause us physical discomfort. All of this can make our mental landscape a bit of a nightmare. For instance, there's definitely been some times that I thought I was having like an emotional crisis of some kind, and it turns out I had a stomachache. And when that stomachache went away, so did the intense emotional crisis. So what about you? If you're autistic, do you experience emotional hypersensitivity? Tell me about it in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.